this huge and in-depth context, I would want to quickly go to each one of you on my panel to give one point that was the standout highlight from the budget for you. And quickly coming to you, Miss Rema. We can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yeah. So one of the biggest, the whole inclusive part, the fact on the semicon and all those emerging sectors was definitely the biggest highlight. The disappointment was on the front in terms of the VC space, of how the capital would be needed to basically back the government's vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. There's a huge amount of capital required for that from the private capital other than. And that part of it was what we were all eagerly waiting for. And that was the biggest gap still. And I'm hoping
interesting. On the point number 2, I would also somewhat agree. I was expecting some policies on that front, and also on the part of movement of domestic capital. That's also something that I was looking forward to. But we will get into the details. But quickly, I'm bringing in Mr. Rajat Tandon. What's your quick take, and what is the major highlight that you love the most?
I think firstly, let me start by congratulating the finance minister. Really, and she's put forward a very futuristic budget. Okay, and it really reinstates the fact and positions India as kind of a safe haven for long-term investments. You see, the budget's been consistent. A lot of stuff was announced last year. So your fund of funds was done in the last year's budget. So it's already probably in the implementation phase, so it didn't need any repetition. You have the RDIF fund, which has been announced. So it's in the mode of deployment, right? Certainly. So that's 1 lakh crores there. You have the MSME fund, which is again another 10,000 crores plus a top of 2,000 crores. So you've got a focus around even the growth sector. So I think all areas. There was infrastructure discussion about money putting into infrastructure. Credit guarantee schemes. So I think overall, if you have to delve deep, the messaging has been quite clear, and different sectors as well. All the sunrise sectors actually have been covered and talked about in the budget. So I would say it's a thumbs up.
Circling back to my initial point where I said that it is not confined to a definitive headline, so to say, policy announcement, but all of the sectors will have startups making their mark across. I'm bringing in Mr. Kedia for your initial remarks on the budget, and also give us one prominent announcement that you are picking up.
I think one of the things which I noticed was prominently the budget seems to be recentered around the India manufacturing story. And, this sort of also shifts a signal from services only to the real shop floor and hardware economy. And, the entire rare earth corridor in Tamil Nadu and Orissa, will definitely strengthen the upstream, which is very much required. I mean, we can have all kind of PLIs and tax policies. Let's be honest over here, the PLIs are definitely meant for legacy players to benefit from, for startups to get over there to a certain stage and then derive the benefit of PLI takes an organic journey. But at the same time, to sort of define that and define manufacturing as a focus is really, really very encouraging.
Interesting. I mean, this is a point that nobody would disagree to. But thank you for mentioning it, Mr. Raut. From your perspective, defense sector as a whole has seen some increment in their capex. What do you have to say, and what is your broader contour of budget decoding?
I think this was not a budget that had any headline-grabbing news items. I mean, if you ignore the STT piece, which has obviously been a sentiment dampener, My view is somewhere along the lines that Rajat mentioned. The government has done a lot over the last 2 years. In fact, in your opening remarks, it almost sounded like a investment thesis for any deep tech fund. You and she hit all the right button areas. Having said that, I think we've gotten enough. There's obviously more that can be done, but there's a bunch of us who have been literally battling uh, for the longest time, and then we had alignment to replicate what has been done in the US. The NRF and RDIF is a fantastic replication of what the NSF and DARPAs of the world have been doing. Um, the other point that I would agree with is what Ankit brought out. I think we aspirationally in 2047 we want manufacturing to be 25% of our economy. That means we have to grow 16 times from where we are now. And if we have to do that, then we have to put in all the building blocks into place. If I were to just narrow down some areas within manufacturing, I mean, for all the headline grabbing numbers, $30 billion or so worth of software, mobile phone exports, uh, most of us deridingly refer to that as screwdriver technology. But there was a 40,000 crore allocation for electronics component manufacturing. We have to have an entire component industry ecosystem that has to be built out. Therein lies your answer. We also have the semiconductor 2.0. The other point that is very interesting, which is again becoming a focus area for all of us, is they've increased the defense allocation by almost 21%. If you look at the budget expenditure year to year, the actual estimates may differ. It's obvious that the last few days have made it very amply clear, whether it be on the hardware side or the software side, we have to be in control of certain sovereign technologies. And if you look at historically, the mother industry for all technology industries has been the defense. It's not an accident that the US military industrial complex is where it is and the US is where it is. It's not an accident, it's by design. If you look at all consequential technology of the last century, right from the microwave to the navigation system, not to speak of semiconductors, AI, they've all have their origination in defense. And I think the focus on these 3-4 areas, I think it sets up very well. This is a build on budget. I don't think there are, again, I will reiterate, there are no headline grabbing numbers, but therein lies what the finance minister has managed to achieve. She's not rocked the boat. We are in some of the most uncertain times, but at the same time, there is a path for us to, achieve what the prime minister has been talking for the last 5-10 years.
100%. To your point where you said that we have to place building blocks not just for defense or infra, but overall for the ecosystem and for the economy, we have to put building blocks in place to reach our big vision for 2047. Quickly coming to you, Natasha, for your initial remarks before we get into the details.
Yeah, I think I believe that this budget is setting the cornerstone for the vision which India has towards being a Viksit Bharat by 2047. And technology can only grow so much till we sort of build our infrastructure. So, what I felt was that this budget emphasized the need for this infrastructure investment, which is missing right now, right? At the same time, even manufacturing, and this is not your traditional, mom and pop manufacturing where you're doing archaic systems. These are like cutting edge manufacturing technologies which we also need with the advent of AI, whether we're talking about the semiconductor mission 2.0, or even the backbone for AI is data, right? The data center push towards having that, and US is facing this crunch with the data center infrastructure is being thoroughly squeezed, with the environmentalist and everything pushing towards the energy requirement is massive, so is the water requirement. And as with the data center, I think the energy requirement, we need the nuclear energy over here to be able to do AI and ML of such advanced level for the next stage, which is coming. Whether it's analytics or building the LLM models, so you need that core infrastructure, which is a big missing over here in India. And I feel that it's a very futuristic budget, which is setting these cornerstones in place, for this backbone to really pick up, because there's only so much right now which you could do with building AI. You need that infrastructure play to come in and that R&D to sort of come in, right? Which the government is sort of encouraging and emphasizing on. And I feel that, what Ankit and Mayur highlighted with the points on infrastructure and the manufacturing, I feel this is manufacturing and automation, 5.0, because even hardware is now, we're talking about the advancement of humanoids and these sort of technologies, robotics coming in a major fashion. We can't depend on China for that. We need to build somewhere our manufacturing to get this going. And while China has that, we have a lot of catching up to do. And this is right. I feel this is just set in the right space and time to be able to get this forward.
Wonderful, wonderful point of view, Natasha. I'm quickly getting in deeper on the pointers we just touched upon. Before I go to Rema, I want to give you a pointer, Mr. Tandon, to ponder on. When we look at the sector startups, or let's say from an investor's lens, what areas do you think will have made breakthrough, or let's say groundbreaking innovation or changes in the next 12 months? We are 12 months away from the next budget. We will 100% talk about the gaps and next set of expectations. In a minute, I'll come back to you. Ms. Rema, I always feel happy when panelists agree with each other, but I really, really want to take a realist view and a counter argument on this. If you have anything different to say, and specifically on the gaps and what the startups left longing for from this budget. You're on mute.
Sorry. So two things. I completely agree with all the other participants. Yes, the budget did have the framework for what needs to be done. In the space of innovation, startups are a key element of that innovations, of everything that needs to be done in terms of cutting edge technology that we can develop from here. And that's so far, India has just been playing a catch up game in that. So we need a huge push in that. The 1 lakh crore RDI budget was absolutely the best place to start. Now, the part that is still missing is the industry and the investing framework in India. The investors, domestic capital, have to step in. And that is very, very key. You need to be able to incentivize to garner that. Otherwise, even today, a substantial part of our capital comes from outside India. If we really need to get this going, there has to be incentives that's given for the local capital, domestic capital, and that's a missing gap. The second is on the talent. There are two things that's needed for the startup ecosystem to really contribute to the Viksit Bharat, and that's the second part of it is a talent. So you're going to have talent coming back from all over the globe, as well as Indian talent. You need them to start enterprises with really cutting edge stuff. The stock options need to get far better tax breaks. And so those two, in my opinion, are cornerstones for the innovation ecosystem to really take off and accelerate. So we are on the right track, but except that, today we are in a world where we have to be able to move things very, very quickly. And capital
100%.
is one of the biggest accelerators that's required.
100%. I am quickly bringing in Ankit on the similar point of moving domestic capital. It was one of the top on my expectations list from the budget. What is your say on this? Were you also expecting something on how you can see the movement happening on the domestic risk capital?
Yeah, as a fund manager in today's environment, any fund manager raising capital today will obviously tell you it hasn't been a smooth ride, especially if you're focusing on stuff like manufacturing and deep tech and all of that and all the other jargons. I think the one shift in I mean, perhaps from the family office point of view, I can say that there has been a significant shift in how investors, both retail and family offices, perceive the theme of different funds. And they are slightly getting more and more thematic, and they are getting more and more verticalized into what kind of funds do they want to partake in. And domestic capital fund, custodians, like, whether it's the retail investors or HNIs or family offices, the amount of knowledge at their disposal today with the advent of ChatGPT and the ability to do analysis on a fund's track record and sector analysis, it has been something which has not been seen so far. So, needless to say, there isn't any entry barrier from becoming a fund manager anymore. And hence, investors are left with so much choice in the market to decide on which fund to partake with. So that, they usually will then lean on funds with track record, funds with slightly more vintage, if they've been in market for slightly longer. I can see Natasha from
Natasha.
Ankur smiling, and but yeah, I think that's been my experience. Domestic capital is hard. It's not going to be an easy ride, especially when public markets are churning out supposedly 20% plus returns tactically. So domestic capital is going to be hard, but it's not impossible.
Natasha, your take on the same point, because you were seen smiling and agreeing somewhat to the point. Before
No,
I
I
quickly bring in
completely,
Mr. Tandon.
yeah, I completely agree with what Ankit was saying, that the barriers to entry for launching a fund in the ecosystem have really gone down. At the same time, I think family offices need to start, I don't know, while they're very well informed, at the same time, they're equally very cautious, right? So they still have to build that risk appetite to really take things ahead. And one of the things there's definitely a lack of domestic institutional capital in the country, but I feel with the RDI fund of fund which has come through, I think I heard at least there were 150 new fund applications which were made within a month's time, just to sort of launch a new scheme to get funding from the for the 1 lakh crore fund of fund which is being launched. This is tentative, so don't quote me on that, but it was like a crazy figure, of fund applications which were put forth just because there was this incentive and push by the government to distribute this money towards research and development. So I see that structurally, while there is definitely a strong momentum and emphasis towards investing in this new age technology with the RDI fund is a bold initiative. Let's see how much of that really actually gets through, and how do they go about deploying it? There's still a lot of questions around it, but I'm sure that will also come through. So structurally, we feel that if that's come through, so they should start being some more participation. I'm not sure for family offices, but from the government standpoint, like the insurance companies, and even the banks, they should be start giving the free hand to do that. They have so much cash on their balance to be able to do that. And with the right sort of fund managers who have that track record or even that experience, which very few have, I think it's a good time, and especially with these policies, there's definitely a momentum towards looking at the age of advanced AI and intelligence, not just from startups. I think even from manufacturing, I feel that it's really underserved, and there's a huge market for it. And I see that some of this trend is coming up, and you need this new age of technocrats to be able to lead manufacturing 5.0 per se. You can't have those manufacturing systems which were put in place 10 years back. They just don't do anything for today's day and age at all, with the way
I
technology
I
has
believe
advanced.
I believe we're on the right track of growth. It will take some time to show up, but we are on the right growth trajectory. I'm coming to you quickly, Mr. Tandon. Now this year we completed Startup India completed 10 years, where I've
Pushpa,
done
can I just
a
answer these two folks? I mean, both Ankit and Natasha, who is sitting here. And Natasha is really a first-time fund manager, right? And if India is now targeting to has become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, with what, 1.5 lakhs or 2 lakhs startups which are registered with DPIIT. We have how many fund managers in this country? I think negligible. For India also has to become the fund management hub of the globe, right? So when I say that with conviction, because the biggest rise right now and the biggest support given by our regulator is for the first time fund manager. So there should be no entry blocks. Now, performance is the most important part, and that is what will kind of segregate the big boys or the ones who can perform Vice versa, they're the one who are there just to have fun. This is all about money. So it's not your money. You have a fiducial responsibility. If you're given the money, I'm sure you also want your returns. So does anybody who puts money into the fund manager wants the returns. Right? Now, as we grow, I think too importantly, what the government has done is given you those two building blocks. I would say the building cornerstones of what you want to do. You're going to have your infrastructure being built and manufacturing. Now, this is the key focus areas for the government. Couple that up, or I would say as the stack builds up, you have the services component coming in. And then you have the showcase of boutique of goods, which is all around your sunrise sectors, whether it's deep tech, whether it's defense, whether it's data centers, whether it's healthcare, whether it's services, tourism, sports, e-commerce, what the government's kind of put together and announced. These are opportunities for more startups to be built, and these are opportunities for our fund managers to start getting focused on certain segments. If India today, we get about 13 or 14 billion dollars of VC investments, only VC investments. The US has 300 billion dollars. So I mean, look at the difference. So we have to be
We need
there.
much more. We need much more rupees and I think dollars so far. But looking forward to that change in coming years. But before closing, I mean, we have to confine to the given time. I will quickly bring in Mayuresh for a quick remark, and then we close with you, Mr. Tandon. Mayuresh, now your quick take on how the government is seeing different sectors to kind of m- make that mark, be it in defense, be it in agri or AI. The FM mentioned AI. FM also mentioned about creators economy. Can you give me a broader sense of how different sectors will come up and grow in an efficient manner?
See, the days of building something in India and hoping the uh, outside world will consume it, those are gone, especially in the real world hardware side of things. There are tariffs, there are going to be FTAs. That's what the government is working on. I think what they did very judiciously, and this goes back a few years, they identified the top three, four areas which India had the most forex outflow. And the usual suspects pop up. There's oil, there's commodities, there's electronics, there's defense. And they've gone about launching schemes that address each one of these issues. The whole bet on whether you're going to call it frontier technology, deep science, whatever you want to call it, is that India starts consuming these products. You can't, as I mentioned, you can't rely on building here, especially with the way supply chains are being disrupted every year. You've just seen what the current president has done. There is full expectation if it's the same party that comes in, whoever follows, this is probably a ball that has been set in motion at least for the next foreseeable future, till at least some sense starts sticking its head up. But you got to understand one thing, that once trust is broken, it takes a lot of time to build it back. So I think the foreseeable future will be where you will have your own areas of influence. Defense, space are areas that we look at. And one thing that we are constantly told is what the Prime Minister refers to as the Global South. Technologies that the Anglo-Saxon world builds, the global South can't afford. Technologies that China builds, there's no trust. So who's left to fill in that gap? And you run across the gamut, right from data centers to space to LLMs to defense. I think that is the platform with which the government has been thinking, and all the initiatives that you've seen are probably with that bedrock thinking in mind.
100%. Quickly to you, Mr. Tandon, in a minute. I mean, I
In
was
a minute.
speaking with a lot of, yeah, in a minute, quickly. I was speaking to a lot of experts from the industry on the 10th anniversary of Startup India that we celebrated on 16th January at National Startup Day. The broader sense of the last 10 years was momentum. And then now, when we're shifting our lens to the next 10 years, it's about maturity. This ecosystem is maturing, be it about innovation, be it about investments, be it about the investor and founders relation, founders strategy and approach. What is your assessment on that sentiment for the next 10 years? Quickly, in a minute.
So growth capital will be available. Now, what we need is capital for growing. So that means typically the startups. And that's why, on the domestic capital, Ankit, you also aware, the government put up the RDIF, which is 1 lakh crore fund, right? You're going to have pension funds and insurance funds put in money, which the Honorable Prime Minister announced about 5 years ago. It's just that needs to get operationalized. More domestic pools will come in as we see more quality of startups being built in the country, for the country, and for the money also in the country. So we will have more. So I don't see an area of issue. We're going to be celebrating many more years of the startup ecosystem in India with much better and larger numbers. I'll just stop at that. Thank you.